I'm going to read from two different books, and they actually are, at least I consider them long poems. One is called Country Music, and the other is The Bentleys. I brought the wrong book up. I'm going to have to stop and halfway through here and get the other book. It's back there. I do have it. I'm going to read from Country Music. This book plays very loosely off. Is this mic okay? This book plays very loosely off a novel that many of you will read, and probably most of you will have heard of, Sinclair Ross's novel As For Me in My House. I've taken the characters in the basic situation, but I play very loosely with them, and I've developed certain names around them. Mrs. Bentley, for those of you who don't know the book, just give you a small context. The Bentleys are a couple living in Depression, Saskatchewan during the dirty 30s. Philip Bentley is a minister, his wife is a musician, and then a few other characters appear, including another teacher whose name is Paul, an adopted kid called Stephen, and a few others, but they won't even all appear in what I'm going to read to you. This first one I'm going to read to you is basically stolen from my father-in-law, who told this story. It's a great story. And he told it, every time he told it, I would laugh hysterically. And you may or may not. But here it was. Way back, many, many years ago, they would run silk trains across the prairies, high-speed silk trains. They'd have silkworms on these trains, taking them down to wherever the silk's going to be produced. So they would blast them down these railway tracks, take everybody off it. So that's partly the reference here to begin with. The Flyer was a fast passenger train, almost fast as the silk trains. They ran silk clean through to New York City, 60 miles an hour nonstop. Blew through like a fart out of hell, and the young guys, they'd gather sort of, see her running from somewhere to somewhere, wind and cinders. But when they stopped by the sweet dust of Cardiff, I tell you, they were something to behold. Pull in sweaty, stand there panting, gleaming with sweat. Long silences. Something special, way they'd wait, eyes closed, and breathe real slow, waiting. And it'd be the coal smoke and the hot smell of oil, the dark spots where it stopped, steam. One time, this is my father-in-law's story, one time she does stop. No zip in, zip out between scenes, and out hops this slick-looking young fella, slick as a frog in spring. Local boys are impressed. That's why they snicker, or try to. They're watching how he wears round him real cool, clean, past the water tower and the one-cylinder engine. It's popping, steady and snuffled all night long, some way of walking. Cows gaping. Who is this guy? Small, neat man, past the water trough, right in front of the town gossip in duckfoot dismay. The pump and creepy disapproval, trying to clear its throat. Right straight into the gleaming chair, without so much as a jangle or rattle, where old Burridge talked the mayor into a hot new electrical treatment. It was rather pleasant. His hair lifted up to here when it zapped and sparked and set his boots on fire. Flames this long coming out of his heels. Day of the burning foot. Traveler takes his coat off, his way of walking, hangs it on a hook before he climbs in, before he says a word. I think he told the story out of a sense of pain, but I found it hysterically funny. I have another friend whom some of you will know, a writer, David Arneson, who writes very funny stories. And before he started writing, he would tell oral stories. And there was one he told many, many times about a broken-down washing machine story. And he told the story hoping for a certain kind of sympathy, but his friends all laughed uproariously. So he decided he was a comic writer. He said, what you need to do is tell the most humiliating, painful stories about your life, and you become a comedian. Right? Short piece. This is in fall. Flowers, their sore throats. Paul so dusty with talk, I should rinse him out with tea. This is in fall. This is when grass ripens to smoke. Her upper lip, faint moisture. And on the step, there is this little laugh as if there is not enough air in her and lungs don't know their rhythm. And soft hair on her face, burned and freckled hand, fickle air in her throat. I promised or threatened to read this poem, a dance poem. You all know square dances, right? This is known even in Ontario. And you know the terms that birdie and crow. The caller calls the rose the birdie and the woman, and the crow was the man, at least in those kind of couplings. Here's the poem. It's a square dance. Birdie fly out and crow flying in. And you dance in giddy as a bride, a bear in Saskatoons. We are dancing, you and I, and all over June. It's crazy, and then we are waltzing. Just us, as if we had always. We are waltzing the turns we surrender ourselves to, come completely unbridled, touching each other, and yes, the sweet turns it takes. Blue were the skies, and blue were her eyes, and blue were the blue skirt she wore. All this, the oak floor, our faces shining, benches, chairs, eyes, doors, me holding you, holding me, and we dance through the corners. You and I move with what is in us, till you would think we careen, boats on the water, bumping, soft hair on your neck, face so close we lose focus. Varnished faces vanish as if we sanded them away, bumps in the floor. And always the heat of your body under my hand changing. Your face is your face is, and we are dancing, always we are dancing. We are always dancing, my darling, we are dancing, and the floor is moving under. Do you know that those lyrics? Blue are the eyes, blue are her eyes, and blue is a great song. You're the only one who knows this. Says, I knew there was cultural deprivation in these parts, but not to know something like that. Dear God. Okay, on a more trying note, potatoes. In the basement, potatoes stare out of their eyes, fumble for something. They've lost somewhere, they're lost the thick white meat. Before supper, I will lop off their thin arms, stick knives into their faces, their heads lolling like hydrocephalics, and twist one by one. Gouge out the pink eyes, squinty with waiting, hating their lepro passion, there being too much out of the sun. Fill my pockets with wind, feel through the unthinkable floor its coolness, the spoor of potato bins, the preposterous white arms. Logical as yours, reach through the hemp skirts, their dry dirt smell, the yearning of basements, the country of my loves, a rough wandering of light, a fumbling to start again. I try to mix in these things a variety of voices, including I love speaking voices, so they show up a whole lot here. And here's a piece which you may object is not a poem at all, but it may not be, but I'm going to read it anyway. I don't identify the speakers most of the time, and you could make your choices, but I usually think that this is Mrs. Bentley speaking these things, but I've deliberately created a kind of ambiguity. We have Philip Bentley, we have Paul, and I invented a name for Mrs. Bentley. She's Phyllis. So the various poems sometimes address somebody called P. So it could be almost anybody speaking to anybody else. Anyway, this one. How warm it is. He takes it out of his pocket inside his coat, pulls it out and says, "Here, this is for you." What? I say, "What is it?" "From Paul," he says. I thought you'd like to see it. I flush. Quick breeze. What does he suppose? Has he read it? The warm paper in my hand, folded twice, a nice firm feeling, nice in the hand. What can it be, and why has he sent it? This is Bentley, he has said. Yes, I'm Jimmy Ross. Hello, I come from Paul. Oh, I said, what is it? What has happened? I wanted to say. And then this fold of paper, not knowing what he knows, what Paul has said. Oh, I say, thank you. His eyes a light brown, steady. What is behind? What does he see through them? I cannot see through, though he sees me. What does he know? What does he think? What will he say? He said he thought I'd like to see this. Yes, I have said. Of course, I say, of course. This one's rather long. I hope that you stay with me. Okay, it's a red book in that bag back there. Okay. The Dracula, red, seeing red. Sorry, guys. Watching the emeries pull away, tin can covered with mattresses, a future lashed to pots and pans, and dogs and kids coated with dreams, orchards tied on too with real creeks in them, and binder twine and chickens and letters. They will write back, is it okay to come home, they will say. Goodbye, their hands say, and their mouths already softer. Eldon up in the driver's seat, silly as a captain, coughing off to the mountains, over the mountains, a valley waits for them, brimming with lakes and names, Swan, Okanagan, Wood Lake, Duck Lake, Beaver, the wonderful names, the Soyos, the Sioux, Ska, Kalamaka. Behind them the barn is falling to its knees, the bones in its back, broken by heat and wind. They will walk in the sand, write their names in the rivers, the lakes, the ocean. Water so pure and so cold, they say you ache when it hits. House still talking under its breath, bewildered. Where have they gone? Why have they left? Tables, chairs, beds, all they gathered their lives about. Junk load of memories rattling away to somewhere. Goodbye, goodbye, God bless, keep in touch. And then home, the slow wake they leave behind, not a lifeline in sight. The peaches already singing the sweet pastel flesh, Lent in the Okanagan singing the blues, time is spinning, he sings, time is spinning, and I'm seized with sudden grief. And I feel as if I'm on an island, the last person left behind. And the only ship in the world is pulling out, sinking out of my mind like a rock. No, I will stand among the high parched winds, all summer waving. Dry weed in the garden, dishcloth around my mouth, daubs of Vaseline in my nostrils, peering through darkness at noon. Thinking how in this wild, wild west I see a bank robber I'd like to come alongside, sloshing a little. Only I don't. I have learned. I toe the line, stand here where sun is a blister, the bluster of dust, the breathtaking rose on the horizon. A pole they've taken the lines from, and I don't know where or why, day after day, saving my balls days up in balls of string. Is there any chance to get that book? Sorry about this. Poets do things like that. They're dumb. My wife heard she say, "You gone and done it again, didn't you?" Don't tell her. Don't tell her this happened. For God's sake, don't tell her. Not so long ago, probably none of you have seen this. I didn't see these. I had these great big, huge radios used to have. They're about so tall. They're big walnut cabinets with those screen fronts. Okay, the scene is my guy, Philip Bentley is listening to the radio. Okay, so that might help locate this. Yes, His head nods. Philip listens, intent as a cactus. The still wooden head talks on and on. Philip, bowed as never he is in church, believing the sounds. Damn right, he says. His head speaks to him. Yes, Philip says, yes. Oh, absolutely. It could be a seance. This really matters. They get their heads together, the two of them. Winds blowing past Philip, small and black-haired, the others large and bald, tanned to walnut from years of talking. Goes on, and Philip listens like he's never listened, nods and makes sounds. The walnut head waves its arms under the table, makes murmurs of commiseration. I guess you're not supposed to laugh at your own stuff, but maybe this is an Arneson story, painful story. I'll read you this one. It's in there. It's a red one. It's in there somewhere. It's a lighter red. Sorry. Okay. That's the one. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. And this piece. No, I'll read this a little bit. This is a very short poem with only 7 words, but I have to see it here. Reached out to send you this line. Out to send you this line reached. To send you this line reached out. Send you this line reached out to. You, this line, reached out to send. This line reached out to send you. Line reached out to send you this. Okay, and a couple of pieces from the book. It does exist. You thought I was bluffing, right? There is no such book, but there is. There are also glasses. Raging incompetence. Only thing left is to spill my water now. This is Dracula. Kind of like my Dracula shape. This is called Cruel Work. It's spelled Crewel. Embroidered our borders, our bodies. The deft needle point I bring you in your parlor, your pallor. You could be a lamp, shaded. No, lady, I feel no malevolence nor offer any. I always knew how you rose, that you would rise silent as bread. Deaf, I thought. At first you held and inspected closely, turned it over and over. Were you astonished I would do it at all? Did you think how ill-bred it is, a tall man with needles and thread at the door? Were you so bored it would excite you? Perhaps it does not matter. I saw it bring a scarlet kerchief to your face. Yes, though hand to throat, cheek, you tried to cover your eyes, the quick light, then away. What is in them? What do you hide? There is a swish of skirts, and you saying, come in, you say, me at the door. Tall shadow at your feet, the clock, talk, talking in the wood flesh. You stand on your soft shoes, the tendons stand out, the boundary we feel all over our faces. Come in, you say, please, won't you come in? Teeter on the faint fragrance their body gives, the way you let it off, fruit from a bowl. Say something, why don't you say something? Your world I step into is not the crystal palace, though it could be, lined with porcelain with a certain uncertainty. It could be a teapot I step inside. Should I stop? I should stop. Sounds in your body quicken. The heat ticking, the ticks between us. The air goes funny and tick, 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 like that, an engine cooling. The anguish or injury you may do. Oh, do not put your fingers in the engines of your dreams. There's a smell in your clothes. I smell warm sun, where you have been sitting, restless animals mew and brood under the pillow in your boudoir. Please, you say, please, come in, why don't you? Me, a tall shadow, tottering, uncertain color, and then in, I fall in where we do not breathe. The air is so thick, Yes, you say yes, undress the garlic braid, and then I very gently, very slowly, the two braids, brown, please, I say, you say, please. Open the collar, hang the two hot stings, earrings, place the red lace choker, my elegant needle, point you wear your neck under, wide as an egg. And then the 6 birds on your neck take turns talking in your throat. Oh, 15. My God. Yeah, you're in for a little more pain here. Oh, Drac, they're playing our song. Drac and Loose, oh, Drac and Loose went down the dark together. It was nick and knack, they were neck and neck, were Nick and Nook on Heather, both left wondering whether they should meet like this, should meet in rainy weather, in feelings damp, in peelings loose, damp as lambskin leather. Cold winds and hail they weathered, in town and goose down feathered, in snow and sleet they nethered, lay down and they all togethered. And I don't know why anybody else writing about Dracula doesn't think of this. Seems to me a logical thing to do with Dracula. Hygiene lesson. Did you brush your teeth? She said, you better brush after every meal if you know what's good for you. That's what they say. Pretty good set of snappers you got there, mister, but you don't watch it, you're going to stain your dentures is what? Boy, oh boy, you know you really better brush your teeth. Didn't your mom learn you nothing? It's a fine set, all right, but you don't look after him, you're going to lose him. Sure as I'm standing here, you are quite a mess, is what you are, mister. And another thing, I don't mind saying, it'd be a fine sight better, know what I mean? You better give him what for you want to click. Know what you got? A social problem is what? Breath like that? You just better smarten up and start looking after yourself a little bit better. Hard not to like this guy, eh? Echolalia. The first thing you should know about me is I am a sound poet. I wind up and throw my voice into the tent like that. How you like that? Neat, don't you think, all the loops in the system? Some smart guy said, well, what's the point? It's canvas, isn't it? And you say, yeah, well, so what? It's paint you're smearing there all over the canvas. Your words are paint. He's a real pain in the ass, that guy. The important thing is I take sounding, see? I try to hear myself. Try to hear you hearing. Your eyes grow green and big. That's how I find myself. That's how I find you. I can hear where you sizzle and pop. Okay. This poem originated for me reading, first of all, seeing the movie and then reading the account that movie called Awakenings that came from that psychiatrists used L-DOPA to treat people who were suffering with, what, was it catatonic? Was that what it was? Good enough. I guess I probably got that wrong. But anyway, that's where I picked this up. So my Dracula goes through this, okay? Awakenings. Came back from somewhere I never knew. Dazed with moving. Dizzy with jerks. Syllables pop underfoot. Found a place I knew, remembered dimly. And there was you, and there was music. The smell of water was in, whose loveliness I entered. You said, I moved inside music. The rust on my knuckles dissolving, voices inside and jamming. A door long stuck, noise from the colors starting. There was a smell when it rained, and poems after you read, streets opening. Something small, only large, too. Something inside getting larger. breathed clouds, red grass growing, and birds talking. Sounds that moved over like June rain, smells wet as watercolors, and running, warm and clean, and then cool. There were doors opening and yellow laughter splashing into the streets, and air on our faces like love, rushing. Entered rain like June, you said, brushing the smell when you read the water, the air large, moved over us in a poem that was yellow rain. Voices fluent as doors on the river breathed birds, rain behind our eyes falling. Our faces in a place falling out, colors go away. So knew her, I could remember her, except it was here, and it wrote as you, and there was you. This time went so fast, I sure got that much time left. I wasn't prepared to do any more than this. I'll read you this one. Back to the. Here we go. In the garden, Philip Bentley, the character, was also a painter. And here he is as a painter. In the garden, he calls it. Figures wedge themselves white as frozen angels, blue as English china. They rub through grit, all of them, lean into or away. You can't tell which. If you knew the four winds blow either way, they're waving, "Hi, Mom, so long, Dad." Each of us to and fro, below or toward the frame we are looking for. A way out, a ledge to step, where we can flap like pigeons in wind. Try to keep the door from blowing away. Please, Philip, we say, please, don't you know it's us? You can't just brush us aside. You can't just stop and ignore our aches and pains are real. Things have gone haywire. And here we are, no thanks to you, stuck in ochre, mired in umber. Now you've gone and done it. You've painted us into a corner, and what's the point? We're out of the picture darn near. Well, what is he supposed to do? Jude likes it. She says it's good. He's sick and tired of us. Who are we to talk? Bitching and moaning. He could take umbrage at our age. Has it ever dawned on us even once? He says with a sickly grin. I'm in this too, he says. Stick with him. He's stuck with us. I think he's stuck in Jude. Through thick and thin, this is difficult. Why don't we just sit still a moment? Why don't we talk about ingratitude? He can take us places. He can make us famous, make us known for miles and miles around. He reaches out toward the weedy horizon. But what would be the point? All of us here huffy and indignant as stars in the last judgment. Is it okay? Yeah, thank you. Thank you.